That's at 75 power. That is impressive. This is the SVBony 16 to 48 power by 65 millimeter spotting scope, extra low dispersion spotting scope that I tested about, last fall, I guess, and I've been using it a lot since, and it's really my favorite small spotting scope. It's real easy to carry, and I've made a lot of videos with it that you've probably seen. And really a well-made product, really good value for the money, and takes really clear look through, and also really good for digiscoping. And it also came with a Wi-Fi camera that replaces the eyepiece, so that you could take videos and pictures right through your phone on an app. And really a nice little scope. But today we're talking about the beast, the big brother of this thing, which, and we'll set this back here. This is the SVBony high definition 25 to 75 power by 100 millimeter dual focus spotting scope that I've been testing out for the last couple of weeks. And it's an HD spotting scope, so it doesn't have the super expensive glass like this one does, but it's certainly a very good scope and really good results, especially given the money. And it's really built almost identically to the ED scope. The only real difference is in the prism, using a K9 prism, and also using the high definition glass versus the extra low dispersion glass. But of course, that means that even though it's huge, that the price point is remarkably low for a scope of this quality and this capability. So we'll go over the features and look at a lot of examples like we always do. A scope like this, or any of the spotting scopes, really need to be used on a tripod, because you're looking at extreme magnification in any case, and especially with this big 75 power scope. And even the slightest jiggling or not holding it steady, you're just not going to get good results. There's a number of reasons why you might not get good results with optics, and one of the primary reasons is just movement, shakiness, and movement of either your subject or of the platform that you're on. So this wants to be on a tripod. That's the only way really to use this. And let's go over the features. They're very similar to the smaller 406p, but again, the main thing here is the 75 power magnification, which is really a lot of magnification for a spotting scope, and the 100 millimeter objective lens. First off, it's got a nice build to it. It weighs about a little over 4 pounds. And one of the things that really raises the price of a spotting scope is if you use expensive metals like magnesium alloy, or aluminum magnesium alloys and things like that to make the body, which adds a lot to the price. So this one is an aluminum alloy with a rubberized coating. So at the big end of the scope, which is really what this scope is all about, is a 100 millimeter objective lens. And a 100 millimeter objective lens does a couple of things. One, it lets a lot of light in, so it makes it really a bright scope, because especially at 75 power magnification, the more light you get in there, the better the result. And also provides for a wider field of view at those extreme magnifications out at long distance. Also has a lens hood. And this scope is waterproof and fog-proof and nitrogen filled, just like the scope over here. So you can use it out in the rain. Extending the lens hood out here like this is going to reduce glare from strong sunlight and stray light, and also protect you from rain if you're out in the rain. And this thing is really, for the price point, is really pretty remarkable at how bright it is in dark conditions because of this large objective lens. A lot of the examples I'll show you, just because of the time that I had to be using it, was in cloudy conditions and even with rain moving in. So I was really impressed with the amount of light that gets into this scope through this big 100 millimeter objective lens. And of course it comes with a lens cover. The other thing is that it has obviously a tripod foot mount, sturdy for putting it on a tripod, and then you can rotate the scope and you can hear the detents in there. for any number of reasons. It's nice to be able to rotate the scope to get the nice alignment or get a comfortable look at it, or to share it with other people. So this is really a nice feature that all decent spotting scopes have nowadays, and this is really sturdy, and it has to be sturdy because this weighs a little over 4 pounds. And ideally you'd want to use this on a fairly heavy-duty tripod, but I'll put a link in the description. I'm using a Suray tripod that's carbon fiber, that's real lightweight and easy to carry and travel with. And it worked fine with that. You know, the balance of this is pretty good considering how big it is on even a lightweight tripod. But obviously the heavier the tripod, the more stable it's going to be. The other feature that I like on this scope is its dual focus. And this is really important. And one of the reasons I really like the 406P so much is that with the dual focus, you use the large focus wheel to get a focus pretty close. And then you have the fine focus, which moves very easily with very little pressure. So when you're zoomed in on a bird at 75 power that might be 200 feet away, obviously it's going to be jiggly and you want to get that perfect focus. And it's just the slightest amount of touch sometimes, just a matter of an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch can make a big difference between a clear photo and a blurry photo. So this is really important. And then the eyepiece is where you have the 25 to 75 power. And it's got a big eyepiece lens, 21 millimeter I do believe. And it's got a adjustable eyepiece collar, which is good for comfort and adjusting it to how you're going to use it. Some, you know, with glasses or without glasses or for whatever reason, you can adjust this to make it more comfortable and easier for you to see out of. And you can see that even though this weighs 4 pounds, it's nicely balanced. I'm just holding it here with one hand. It's not excessively heavy for a spotting scope of this size. And it uses a K9 prism, which is a good prism. It's just a little bit lower priced than some of the higher end scopes that might use a back 4 prism or something like that. So I mean, obviously at the price point we're talking about for this big scope, which gives you good results, is remarkably low, and a lot of times there's you know, discounts and sales on it. So what you get for your money on this is pretty impressive. I mean, if you have thousands of dollars to spend on the most high-end large scope, you know, more power to you. But if you want something to have a lot of fun with and enjoy bird watching and nature and things like that, this is a pretty darn good scope at the price point. The one thing about this large scope is it doesn't accept the SC001 Wi-Fi camera that will go into the 406P 65 and 80 millimeter ED spotting scopes. So this eyepiece is you know, customized for this large scope. All the lenses are fully multi-coated to increase accurate light transmission and reduce chromatic aberration and things like that. It's pretty easy to look through it with the naked eye and just use it as a scope, but a lot of people are going to want to take pictures and videos with it. That's what we call digiscoping, and I've done a number of videos on digiscoping in the past. In fact, I'll put a link to the detailed review of the smaller scope in the description. And so digiscoping is really popular. It's been around for a long time, but it's becoming more popular with the you know, the advent of smartphones with just better and better cameras. This spotting scope does not come with a adapter for using it. And a lot of times they put in, like, you know, plastic cell phone adapters, which are okay. You know, they're not the greatest for getting good quality pictures. This is a Move Shoot Move AccuView smartphone adapter for large scopes. And it works perfect on this scope. What you do is you just set it up here and it automatically trues up, make it about level with the eyepiece there. And then when you tighten it down, it trues up to make a perfect fit. The scope may be actually quite good, and then when you look at it through your phone, you might think, well, this scope is, you know, it's not as clear as it could be. A lot of cases that has to do with the phone and the way it's mounted and the camera on your phone. You know, when it comes to digiscoping on a tripod, you want to limit as much vibration and jiggling as possible. So you want to use a Bluetooth shutter to execute the videos and take photos with your app. This is just a quick example of a feral cat that I've been, if you've been watching this channel, you've been seeing the various videos on this. Was shot at about 100 feet away at 75 power in the total cloudy sky with rain moving in. So you get some pretty remarkable results for a scope like this at this price point with a good cell phone adapter and a Bluetooth shutter and a tripod. The quality of your phone and how carefully it is mounted to the scope will have a great influence on your results with this scope or any other scope. I'm using the relatively poor main camera of my Motorola Edge 5G ultra-wide smartphone, and such things as white balance, resolution, and auto exposure and focus have a big impact on the results. So don't think what you see on your phone screen is necessarily exactly what the spotting scope shows if you were to look through it with the naked eye. Most phones now have 2 to 4 cameras with varying capabilities, so make sure you know which one is your best camera, and that is the one you want to align with the adapter to the scope. One of the issues with smartphone adapters, no matter how good they are, is the gap of usually at least 1/4 of an inch or so between the eyepiece and the phone lens. And if there is strong side light or glare getting into that open gap, it can have a big impact on how your phone meters the situation. If you have a high-end camera package on the latest Pixel, Apple, or Samsung phones, you'll probably get the best results. And you can also shoot in manual mode, controlling all the camera settings if you really want to have some fun. Some of the most popular high-end phones may have specially made Digiscoping adapters available that will improve results, so do a search for them. Like any hobby or activity, you can put as much money and time into them as you desire, or as little. Finding that right balance for enjoyment is up to you. The big scope also comes with a nice, well-made cover for it, with a carrying strap that you can use for taking out in the field, which is kind of handy. Actually, I use it all the time on the smaller scope, which has a similar cover, and it's really great, especially if I'm going out in the wild on my electric bike or something like that to take some videos. So yeah, this works really well, and also it acts to protect the scope while traveling. And they put a lot of thought into this, and you can actually use all parts of the scope, including mounting it on the tripod while it's in this protective case. It's waterproof anyway, so it's not so much that you would want to take this off and on just to use it, but just if you're going to go out in the field, it's easy enough that if you're carrying it from point A to point B fairly frequently, you don't have to take off the cover. You just have access to all the necessary controls and use it just fine with the cover on. And that may or may not be important to you, but it's really important to me because I like to carry these things out in the wild, mounted on a bike or around my neck if it's not too heavy. So that's a nice, well thought out cover. Somebody put a lot of effort and work into designing that and implementing it. So it's actually a pretty nice feature. So to summarize, I really like this big beast of a scope at this price point. There's usually specials running on Amazon or the SVBony website, and really the quality is really quite good. I mean, it's well made, it's robust, everything, the fit and finish feels good, and it's real easy to use, real easy to look through. Of course, the thing about this is all about its power. 75 power magnification and 100 millimeter objective lens, which lets in a tremendous amount of light, really a bright scope, and also increases your field of view. It's just like any big zoom lens. I have a 150 to 600 millimeter for my Canon R6, and of course it does better at say 25 to 50 magnification than it does all the way up to 75, just like most lenses do. Is that when you get up in this extreme magnification, with the large lens and all the light getting in there is when you're going to notice things. But you also have to remember there's other factors besides the scope involved. One is the environment. Not only do you get longer distance, you get the diffraction of light and various atmospheric effects. You also have to deal with extreme contrast with the strong sun. Sometimes, especially with birds, the birds will be on a branch and there'll be like white clouds right behind them and black, blasting sun. And there's only so much that optics can do to solve those problems. But at this price point, to me, it gives remarkable results for the typical person that's interested in watching birds. So, you know, it really just matters on how much money you want to spend and how much power you want to get. But at the price point of this, where sometimes this can be gotten for under $200 with this quality of construction, you know, it's not a big investment to have a lot of fun with. So I really have a lot of fun with it and look forward to having more fun with it.